Little bored today, so I thought I would tell my fondest basketball memories. Right? Why not? Um, as you can see here, to my left, I guess it's gonna be y'all's right. Uh, this is AC Law, Aggie, by the way. Went and played for the Atlanta Hawks. Didn't have a great NBA career, but was a really good Aggie player. Led us to the tournament, I believe. Also, fun fact: so I went to two different high schools between my junior and senior year, and a buddy of mine from each team that I went to school from ended up playing at A&M. And I ended up going to the A&M main campus. This is actually not a story I intended to tell, but it's kind of funny and ironic. I ended up going to the A&M main campus whenever essentially a hurricane hit in Galveston, and we ended up going up there for a semester. And so a lot of my classes got canceled, and I was spending like 6 hours a day at the rec center essentially. I'd go play ball from like 11 or noon to like 3 or 4. Maybe go. I wasn't quite into working out at the time, but I was definitely playing ball like 3 or 4 hours a day. And good runs up there. Like it's a big campus, right? It's like good runs up there, really good guys. I saw a lot of friends up there. But during that time, sometimes I get there a little early, maybe 10 or 11 or something if I was bored or just wanted to go shoot before I got busy. But the Aggies, the team, they would play at that gym too, like on the court over from us. This was, I think, during the off season, so like they were just kind of doing whatever. But I saw one of my buddies that played with me uh, from the high school that I was going at in Houston. And so we just kind of said what's up, but we shook hands, whatever. He was busy and stuff, but we chatted for a second, and then I didn't even think about it at the time, and I looked over, and there was my other buddy, right? And so I'm sitting there like talking to two players on the team, right? And everyone's wondering like who the hell I am, or whatever. Like, am I some trainer or something, right? And they kind of looked at each other like, how do you know this guy, right? Because I kind of knew them from two different places. It was, anyways, that was just kind of an off story. That was a really funny moment though. uh, even I didn't think about it. Like, that's how random it was. Like, of course I knew they each were on the team at A&M, but I never thought I would see them both, right, in like an intimate setting like that, like just at a rec center or something. And then me also not thinking that they had no idea that I knew both of them, and so they're probably thinking like, what are the odds that this guy knows him and I also know him, right, from the team? Kind of a small world thing. But anyways, like, that was kind of a funny story. But that they both played, I believe, one of them played. Hold on, I think one of them was a freshman when on AC Law's last year at A&M. And yeah, one of the guys, I won't say his name just because I don't feel like name dropping. That's kind of lame, I suppose, although I'm kind of doing it, right? But everyone knows AC Law. I didn't know AC Law, so I'm not really name dropping him. But yeah, his freshman year, he essentially is like one of the best all time 3-point percentage college basketball shooters of all time. Essentially, and I was looking at some of the stats here. There's like career leaders. He's like top 100. His freshman year, I know that I'm pretty sure he led the NCAA in percentage. Um, he was on the All Big 12 honorable mention team his sophomore year. So like, he was a good player at A&M. So was the other guy as well, who I think the other guy ended up going and playing in China for a little bit or something, and they both ended up going overseas and stuff. But yeah, that was a funny story. It actually wasn't meant to be part of my story, but yeah. So that was just a side note to A&M and AC Law, but I also did the video with the top 5 power forwards of all time, and I made a little short talking about how I went with my dad, and I think I was like 7th, 8th grade at the time. It was in 2002. So 2002, I was, 8th grade, something like that. I think it was before my freshman year in high school. And so 3 things that were really cool about this one year that we went to go see the high school state championships. I had a cousin playing for Frankston, who is they're a tiny school, 2A. They were 2A that year. They lost by 1 point. It was heartbreaking. But yeah, I had a cousin playing in the finals at 2A Frankston. They lost by a point. So, I mean, it was very cool to go see him. You know, really exciting. Really wanted him to win. Unfortunately, they didn't quite get the dub, but that's just how sports go, right? Can't win them all. That's why we play. If you could win them all, you'd be bored. And so there was that. And then I told the story about how I saw Dallas Lincoln play Beaumont Ozen. And I saw Chris Bosh absolutely eat Kendrick Perkins' lunch. Just actually took him to task the whole game. Dallas Lincoln won by 20 points. Now, they had similar stats, Kendrick and Chris Bosh, but Bosh, by the time halfway through the fourth quarter, he was on the bench, and Kendrick Perkins got 8, if I remember right, he went on a little run, had 8 or 10 points in garbage time. But Dallas Lincoln won by 20 points, 71-51, and this is actually probably my favorite part, or favorite basketball memory. So, you would think just logically, 4A compared to 5A, right? You would think 5A would be like the big game, the one everyone's going to see. The atmosphere, and I'm in 8th grade this time, right? So, I've been playing ball, I want to go play in high school. I've been to some big games. I've been to an NBA game or whatever, right? The atmosphere for the 4A game is still unlike anything I have ever experienced in my life, besides maybe one of my other stories. Me and my dad went to Game 3 in the 2011 NBA Finals in Dallas. I'll get to that later, though, because there's some other stories tied in with that. But this is in the Irwin Center, right, at UT in Austin. The atmosphere was nuts. People are there. So you got to understand, a game will end, and then there's maybe 20, 30 minutes tops between games. When I tell you the 3A game ended, and that place was packed, dude. It was packed from top to bottom. People were shoulder to shoulder. There was just this buzz in the air, right? And, Beaumont Ozen, I think, had been there the year before. Dallas Lincoln's a perennial 4A powerhouse. They're there every year, if not every other year. Just a crazy atmosphere, right? And I just remember thinking, this is the 4A game. There was, you go, essentially 1A, 2A, 3A, the crowd's nice, they're loud, they're a little rowdy, but the top bowl is halfway empty or empty, that kind of thing. And I mean, whenever that 3A game ended, the place was full, sold out. And it's just the buzz. I can't even describe it. If you don't know, then you don't know. But I mean, people were just buzzing. People talking shit. Saying I mean, it was absolutely incredible. And I just remember that feeling man, this must be what it's about. This is just, I haven't felt anything like this, right? Even being into an NBA game where fans are just kind of rah rah. I mean, people are. It's just this buzz, right? And people are waiting. And maybe I'll do some research here, although it's not really pertinent to the story. But Dallas Lincoln comes out, and, for those who don't know, I'm not sure if they do, I don't think they do this in the pros, but I think they do it in college and I know high school for sure. You have 5 minutes before the refs come out, and the refs will blow their whistle or announce that they're there, and you can't dunk anymore in warm-ups. something like that. I don't know if that rule is still around, but essentially you've only got a couple minutes to dunk, right? And Dallas Lincoln, they had they had like 3 or 4 guys who could just absolutely jump out of the gym, but there was this one guy, and it was kind of funny because, when you're learning basketball, when you dribble, you learn to keep the ball low, keep your body kind of in between you and the defender, real fundamental stuff, right? And it was the first time I ever heard my dad tell me something that wasn't fundamentally sound. He's like, you know what? Sometimes some guys are just so quick and so fast. They can dribble the ball up here. Obviously you can't carry or travel, but like they can dribble the ball high, and it doesn't matter. They're just so quick and so fast, so shifty. They don't have to follow the rules, right? And that really stuck out to me at the time, because that was the first time you realize, like, kind of like how they say there's levels to this, right? And not only that, but you, at some point, right, you can be the most fundamentally sound player in the world. Theoretically, right? But if you do not have that next gear, or if you cannot kind of physically compete at some level, it's just the writing's on the wall, right? And we've all been there. For anyone who's played competitive sports, and you realize there's levels to it, right? Even if you go play JUCO ball or something like that, right? You're not going anywhere past that. It's just, there are just guys out there who have the same skill as you, but twice the athleticism, right? Twice the quickness, twice the strength, kind of thing. And that's always stuck out in my head, because, you're not allowed to say that. You can't say, my dad was also my coach growing up in a lot of my teams. It's like, you can't say that. You can't tell me that you don't have to be fundamental and you can still be good. Like, that's not allowed. Like, in the way, remember, I'm in junior high, right? So, like, you're starting to get to that level where, like, athleticism really begins to separate guys as we kind of are either already hit puberty or growing, that kind of stuff, right? And this guy, he couldn't have been 5'3", 5'4". He takes off from not the dotted line, but the circle at the free throw line, the bottom of that circle. And he does like a full windmill, right? And it kind of went, the crowd and the stadium went from that buzz to like, it's on. Like, this is what we came to see. And we had good seats. Like, I was essentially eye level, a little taller than where the players were, but I was essentially eye level with the players. Remember, I'm in 8th grade, so I'm a little shorter. So if there's a tall guy, it kind of feels like we're looking eye to eye. And if I remember right, I was on the other side of the court, so I'm like looking down the court. I'm on Beaumont Ozen's side, and Dallas Lincoln's on the other side. And all I see is this little kid. Not little kid, but this little guy. Remember, I can't like actually see Dallas Lincoln almost, because everyone's in front of me. I know they're over there and stuff. And I see this guy. I'm kind of trying to like look around and stuff. And I see this guy just elevate above everyone else and just windmill it and just throw it down. And he couldn't have been taller than me. And in 8th grade, like, it was just one of those things where it's like, okay, like, I get it. Now I get, like, why everyone... And we're also talking about 2 undefeated teams, I believe. So, like, it's like that, when I saw it, I was like, oh my God, like, this is unreal, right? And they had Chris Bosh, and I'm looking at the stat book, they give you the pamphlet, or you buy the book or whatever outside that kind of has all the games listed and the players and little backstories and stuff. And I think Beaumont Ozen had won the year before. Let me look that up. I should have looked that up before. I apologize. I'm not doing my job. So this was in 2002. The year before, Beaumont Ozen had won by 16 points against San Antonio Lanier. So that was also one. And then, so I believe we went 2 years in a row. I believe this was the second of 2 years that we went. The year before that, I saw the main game was, I believe, Sugarland Willow Ridge. Yeah, Sugarland Willow Ridge played Bryan. And if I remember right, Sugarland Willow Ridge had TJ Ford, Daniel Ewing, on their team. And TJ Ford, by the way, as a high schooler, had to, I think, as a high schooler that I've seen in person, right, for a point guard, ball handling, skill wise, he looked like a different animal compared to anything I had seen up to that point. And it wasn't even that he was like so crazy athletic or quick, but he just moved differently, right? He was just so smooth, and it, like you could throw 2-3 guys at him and he would just, there was no, there's guys who play at their own speed. He was like that in high school, right? He controlled the court. It didn't matter what you did to him. He controlled the court. Like it was very impressive, to say the least, right? Let me see his stat line here. And they were undefeated. Let's see. So they had Kenny Taylor, Andre Watson, Curtis Walker, Daniel Ewing, TJ Ford. And the thing is, he was only 4 of 5, right? 8 points, 9 assists, 4 steals. You know what I mean? Like, he didn't score that much, but he just controlled the game. Like, it was, it was really interesting to watch. It was really like a lesson of there are many ways to dominate a game or to kind of leave your fingerprints on a game. But anyways, back to 2002, right? So I saw this little point guard just absolutely get his eyes at the rim and windmill dunk. And it also kind of goes back to that, like, there are so many guys out there that you've never even heard of or seen who could just flat out ball, dude. Flat out play, the craziest, freakiest athletes you've ever seen. And, for one reason or another, they just don't materialize. They don't ever work on their game or improve their skill. They get hurt, get off court issues, whatever, right? But it just sort of reminds you that there are so many amazing players out there that you'll never even know about, right? And it's a real shame. But so anyways, from that, right, I saw that. So that's like that whole it was like one day. That whole day was quite incredible. Seeing my cousin play the 4A game, and then the 5A games where I was getting to with this whole AC Law thing, I finally got there. And what's crazy, right, is the 4A game is just packed. It's packed. It's buzzing. It's still the craziest basketball atmosphere I think I've ever been in. One or two of the craziest basketball atmospheres I've ever been in. The 5A game, it's just me and my dad. We had gone with like my uncle, and there was some other family there for my cousin and whatnot. And so we go, just me and my dad, to go see the 5A game, right? Everyone's gone or they had to leave or what have you. And it's just me and my dad, right? And we're kind of in the nosebleeds. We only had good tickets for the 2A, my cousin, 3A, and then the 4A. And then the 5A game, we were scalping tickets, right? So we just got like basic tickets to the 5A game. And this is what happened in the 5A game.
Execution, though, by Kimball on that baseball pass as John Jay face guarded. Just perfect execution. That's a gamble. Got to admire their, what's the right word? Confidence in their ability.
He throws the strike and Rab finishes.
Yeah, right
Check it out
there.
one more time.
Oh, sorry. Let me put my headphones in. But as you can see here, Dallas Kimball really thought that they had the game won. And, everyone's leaving, right? Everyone's filing out.
Just an absolutely perfect pass. Jason Rab on the finish. Now let's watch Steve Goff on the other end. Watch this tip in. Watch number 12 go to the offside. Did it with his left hand. Terrific job by Goff right there. Both ball clubs just playing beautiful basketball.
If I remember right, number 12 right there had a hell of a game. He
now
had like 20, 24 points or
It's just
something.
a shame to have a loser when you've got two ball clubs that have played this well. One of them will go home very happy, and such a little difference between the two teams.
No good for Campbell. Ross with the ball. Time running out. No timeouts left.
No!
A three-point
That I remember me and my dad looking at each other like we couldn't believe what we just saw. Absolutely crazy, dude.
There is absolutely nothing to say. Look at the replay. Unbelievable effort by the junior point guard, Chris Ross,
On his birthday. How about it?
Yeah, so you heard him right there. It was that guy's birthday, and also he had gone 0 for the entire game. Like, he didn't necessarily shoot a lot, but he was like 0 for 4, 0 for 5. He hadn't scored any points the entire game.
his birthday. That's right. We saw his mom up there. Happy birthday, Chris Ross.
And it was his birthday. That is just crazy,
truly
dude.
a miracle. Partner, we've seen America.
We have seen it in Austin, folks. And there's the mama. She's proud, isn't she?
And so what's also interesting about that is he got the MVP. There was another guy on their team who was clearly like their best player, right? And he had like 20 points. He had like a few nice dunks, great defense. Like, he was easily the best guy on the court, right? And I thought for sure he was gonna get the MVP. And they gave the MVP to the point guard who hit that one shot. It's like my dad was like, "Well, he hit the one shot that mattered," like, and no one was mad or anything. But I just want to be like, man, that other guy definitely should have got it. But they ended up giving the MVP to that guy, and that was such a crazy. I believe that was all in one day. It was just such a crazy like thing to go to, like quite the event. And then, so for my other sort of cool memory, so my other cool memory, as I kind of mentioned earlier, was 2011, the Mavs crazy run, and my dad was essentially like, we have to go to a game. Like, this is just nuts. If you guys remember that run, I talk about it all the time, so obviously But that run was just unbelievable, and like I've mentioned before, Cuban used to hold a certain amount of spots, like reserve spots, for the last row on the lower deck. If you painted your body, and you could get in for free. And if there was too many people, like, I don't know how many spots, let's say there's 30 spots, right? You'd have to do some kind of skit or some kind of thing as a team, or like give your best pitch, right? For why you should get in, and like they have like some Mavs cheerleaders, not cheerleaders, but like, the people that run on the court and throw the t-shirts and the cannon and stuff. Some of those guys, and they would decide. And so we did that like for MJ's last game in Dallas, which that's a good memory. And so just to explain, right, like, I've been diehard Mavs fan my whole life. In the 90s, Reunion Arena, went to all the camps, I'd get autographs anytime I could, all kinds of everything, right? You name it. I had all the posters, all the stuff, right? Big Michael Finley fan. Like, Michael Finley's my boy for sure. Love me some Michael Finley, man. But so anyways, we went to 2011 Game 3. We sat in the upper deck, but the first row, so like no one was in front of us. That was the shot where Dirk had a chance to win it, and he missed like a 16, 18 foot fall away, almost straight on, and it just hit the back of the rim and went out. And Dallas went down 2-1, and it sucked that Dallas didn't win, but like I was so glad I got to do that, with my dad and whatnot. It was a lot of fun. So that's another memory. And then that kind of also ties into, I used to work for this company, and they had like seats, like fifth row seats at the Rockets here in Houston. Like, I live and work in Houston, and essentially you get to pick a game a year, right? And this is kind of back, Dirk's kind of on the downhill now. This is like 2014, 2015, 2016, something like that, right? And So essentially, I'd always pick Dallas. I'd always go to a Dallas game, obviously. And so one year I took my kid and me and my dad, and my dad essentially was like, we got to get there early, right? And, he's like, you got to get there early. Like, Dirk's not going to be around forever. And the thing about these seats is that they were fifth row, right, behind the backboard, which kind of sucked. But they were right next to the visitor entrance, right? The Rockets would go down on the other end, and the visitor would come back, literally walk right by us. I mean, you could literally reach out and maybe get a handshake, that kind of seating, right? And I think about it more now. I'm not much of like bugging guys for autographs though, but like there'd be a lot of times we had season tickets, like there'd be games, and nobody, just a client couldn't go or something like that, and maybe like we couldn't sell them for like, we would try to sell them, right, if nobody was going to go, but sometimes we wouldn't get the price we wanted, and so sometimes we could just go. And having a card collection and stuff, I kind of wish maybe I would have done that more often, but sometimes you get off work and you're just like, I don't want to go to a game, but I maybe wish I would have done that more often and tried to get some more autographs and stuff of guys. But this time I did it this one time. We got there like 2 hours early. I wore this, I had bought like a Dirk's old Germany jersey a long time ago, not just for this, but he wore 14. It said Deutschland on it, the black and gold, black and yellow jersey that they wear in Germany. I had bought that a long time ago just because, I'm a fan. I got it cheap on eBay or whatever. I don't even think it's like an official jersey, but it's like good enough. And so we get there early, and, for anybody who knows anything about Dirk, he's the nicest guy. I can't do it because I'll get a content claim, but you guys should go look up the Punked episode of Dirk. Dirk is so nice. Like the Dirk Punked episode is like this kid who's bugging him at dinner, and he kind of comes up at first. He's like, "Oh, Dirk, can I get an autograph on a poster or whatever?" And Dirk's like, "Yeah, no problem, right?" And then the kid comes back with like 10 or 15 things. And they're not even like basketball related anymore. It's like a baseball or something like that. And, Dirk kind of looks at him and he's like, all right. And so like he's literally just signing all this stuff, being nice to the kid. And then the kid comes back with like 20 more things. And one of them's like a wiffle ball, like a hat of like something random, like stuff that wasn't even basketball related. And he's like telling him to make it out to this kid and say, I hope you get well soon. Trying to like, guilt Dirk that it's like for a sick kid or something. And then like the last time he comes back and Dirk's like, can I just at least finish my dinner? Dirk didn't even say no. He's just like, can I at least get like 15 minutes to finish my dinner? And the whole punk thing is like the kid after everything Dirk did, right? The kid was like, man, you're a horrible person or whatever, and then walks off. And like Dirk's there with Michael Finley and some other guy, and of course they're in on it. Dirk doesn't know. And, they're like, oh my god, that kid's so mean or whatever. And then eventually they tell him he's getting punked. But just to let y'all know, like Dirk's like he's a really good guy, and of course that's his reputation, right? I'm not saying anything y'all don't know. But so yeah, we get there like 2 hours early, warm ups or whatever, and Dirk's so like we're on. We are on like the sideline, right? And the thing with the sideline part is they don't let just anybody come into the sideline area, right? The long part of the sideline of the court, you have to have like certain tickets to get in there. But on the baseline part is where fans, like any fan, can kind of come down early and get in, right? And so he's like across the walkway where they come in and out of, signing all the average fans. I don't say average fans would be demeaning, but like people who just have normal tickets, right? You could have a ticket from anywhere, and I think you could come down to the baseline part early and try to get autographs or whatever. And so I'm a little worried because like there's like 20, 30 people and he's signing all his stuff, and I'm like, man, he's gonna like turn around and not see me and just walk or whatever. And he turns around and I'm wearing the Germany Deutschland jersey, and I think because I was wearing that, he came over. He said, I think he said something like "nice jersey" or "I like that jersey" or something like that. And so I had the Sharpie ready, and I turned around. I let him sign. I'll put a picture of it up here, along with the Game 3 ticket from when we went. And he signed the jersey or whatever. And then, man, we turned around, and I got the handshake and the lean in with the with the shoulder bump and everything. And I was just like, I just told him, like, I really appreciate it, man. Get the dub or something like that. And he was just like, thanks, man. And he walked off, and that was so cool, man. That was such an awesome experience.
Yeah, baby, get him, baby.
And also, what was funny is I'll try to find. I have some pictures. I can't remember if this was a playoff game or not. Like, Dallas had barely made the playoffs, and this was when Houston was good with Harden. I can't quite remember, or if it was just regular season. It might have been right as the regular season was ending. I think that's what it was, because Cuban was there somehow, and underneath the Deutschland jersey. So once he signed that, I took it off, put it in a bag, right, and just so, like, no risk, right, of messing it up. Underneath that, I tried to find it to get a picture of it. It's somewhere around here. I just didn't look that hard. In 2011, right, they had T-shirts on all the chairs, and I got one of, it says, like, the time is now with the championship trophy. I have like 2 or 3 of those. And Cuban saw me walking by, and Cuban, like, saw my shirt. I'm in Houston, right? And so he saw that shirt, and he knows that's a legit shirt. That means I went to at least to one of the playoff games, like in 2011. And so he came over and he signed that shirt too, which was pretty cool. I got a twofer that night. And then there was another time I went, which was kind of cool, and I got to sit behind the same seats, but in front of me was Chris Broussard from ESPN, and I was actually with the client that night, and I was just chatting him up the whole time, because Mavs were like, Dirk was probably about to retire the next year or two. They had a decent draft pick or whatever. I think that might have actually been the year before we drafted Luka, and I was just chatting him up the whole time. And, like, asking him questions, like, what's it like on ESPN? Like, you come here, what do you got to do? Like, why are you at this specific game? Like, this isn't really, like, a big game, or whatever. And, like, he could tell I was into it, so I think he's being nice to me. And, like, there's plenty of time to talk in between stuff. I was still letting him do his job. And, but that was another really cool moment from that.
He's right there. He's right there. Chris Broussard, right? Is that his name? I can't remember. Sorry, look up. Look up Chris Broussard real quick. Is that him? Yeah, that's him. The one and only Chris Broussard. He sits no more than 5 feet away from me. Come on, Doc.
Round number 4, JJ Redick is first.
He's taking notes.
And then, also along those lines, I went another time with my kid and his friend, and Jason Terry was on the Rockets at that point, and so we got there early again, not to do autographs or anything, but just because the kids, right, just to let them wander around a little bit. And so we walked down from the visitor side down to the home side, because I'd never seen, like, the home tunnel, like what it looked like and whatnot. And so as we're walking, like there's like those like 3 or 4 rows that are like courtside, right? And we're walking behind that. You see that on TV all the time. And so Terry was shooting threes like close to us, right? And I was wearing a Maverick shirt, and he turned around, and for those who don't know, Jason Terry got a tattoo of the finals trophy on his bicep before they won the championship that year in 2011. And so I yelled at him, I go, Terry, and he turned around, I go, show him the tattoo, and he saw I was wearing the Maverick shirt, and he started laughing real hard. And that was another cool little experience as well. But yeah, I decided to get on there. I was just thinking, making some content, and so those are kind of like my fondest basketball memories. A little high school, a little pro, a little bit of A&M mixed in there as well, some college. So that was it. Just want to get on and ramble and just tell the story. So I'll talk to y'all next time.